Ordinary meeting of the Mount Isa City Council. The time is 9 a.m. and I now declare the meeting open. Mount Isa City Council acknowledges the Kalkadoon and Injilindji people, traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. Please note that this ordinary meeting of Mount Isa City Council may be live streamed and recorded in accordance with the Council's recording of council meetings policy. As a visitor in this public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in chambers, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is inadvertently broadcast. Today we have Father Mick providing us with a prayer, and just before Father Mick starts, as part of the prayer, I'd like to say that the Russian government's unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine is extremely distressing to the people of Mount Isa. We stand by Ukrainians around the world and we are united in our grief. We pray for a peaceful resolution to this conflict, and to the members of our local Ukrainian community, your families are in our thoughts. I'd just like to add that we also acknowledge the Russian people who are standing against this conflict. Father Mick, would you like to hand the prayer?
Thank you. Good evening, morning, everyone. I'm just awake now. So I'd just like to reflect on a couple of verses from Matthew's Gospel. In the Gospels, Jesus calls people to serve 39 times. So in Matthew, he says, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and the great people make their authority felt. This is not to happen among you," he says. "Whoever wishes to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." And again, "The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." As we think about the call to serve, all of us, no matter who we are, family, our work, our community, let us pray. Pray for the leaders in our community, federal, state and local governments, for the service of others. Pray for Mount Isa community will be people who look to the needs of others before our own. Pray for those whose lives have been torn apart by the war in Ukraine. Pray for communities and people who have been devastated by floods. We pray for those who are least in our community, that we can be of service to make a difference to their lives. So I commend these prayers to you, O God, as we pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Mick. That takes us to apologies and leave of absence, which we have none. And so that will take us now to public participation. And we have Mr. Gary Osmond in the public gallery who'd like to speak. We'll just get you a microphone, Mr. Osmond.
Gary, so you don't need to hold it up close.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, councillors. I've got a couple of questions, so I'll read them out. Question 1, when does the council have scheduled for the CBD precinct under its current maintenance, parks and gardens budget the following, please? 1, cleaning rubbish and litter off the streets. 2, painting of all the guardrails that are an ugly sight. 3, complete the replacement of new stainless steel rubbish bins in the city. 4, place extra bins where needed, e.g. Hundry Jacks. And 5, ensure all overgrown weeds in the garden beds and islands are kept cut. And 6, remove graffiti from our patrols. Just following up on that question, our city, this is a statement, our city has sadly deteriorated to being constantly dirty, rubbish around the streets, constant graffiti, and the above not being done regularly to present a clean city for us, the residents and tourists. Further, groups of people walk and stagger aimlessly in the street, often affected by alcohol and some affected by substances. This is a daily occurrence. After drinking, and they move on. There is a worn track from the liquor stores down past the red earth, over the council lawns, often stopping and drinking on the way to the riverbed. Residents are feeling unsafe, even during the daylight. 3 times I've intervened and called the police and have been threatened by the offenders. And I'm only one of many. Can we please request our council to get back to some basic fundamentals done daily, weekly, to keep our city clean and presentable so we can be proud of our city again? We're not talking millions of dollars. A lot of this should come out of standard parks and gardens budgets, and I'm not a lone voice here. So I just wanted to raise that, Madam Mayor. Sorry. That was my first question. The second question, would council support the following and take the appropriate actions to enforce, to assist the cleaning of our city and make it safe, please? An inspector to issue littering on the spot fines by the council for the person who litter our streets. Penalties must be significant. I've suggested $300. Under the Local Government Act, it's $275. No payment on spurs. 2, the council work with local police to ensure that current Queensland move on laws are enforced, where the police can intercept groups, gangs and disperse. This is a law enacted in 2000 and it can be enacted by the police with the support of council. These are essential, straightforward actions that can be taken legally, and only the people offended would be breaking the laws. Move on laws work very effectively in many parts of Australia and around the world. We need to do some basic fundamentals to tidy up our city. I know there's a plan for a big upgrade and all that, but these are things that can be done fairly quickly, and we don't need to have talk fests, we don't need to have network meetings, etc. These things can be enacted. And I'm just asking the council to consider this. A lot of people have been here a long time, are just tired. They're tired of seeing our city being, in some aspects, what is this? This is a great city. And we need to make some action. So I think I've said enough. My views are very well known. Thank you for the opportunity of being able to present this to the council, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you for putting your questions forward early, because that gives us an opportunity to come back with you with a reply instead of saying we'll get back to you. So I've got a letter here that we've put together that I've signed and we'll give to you, but I'll just read it out. And it's basically, thank you for your questions raised on the 16th of March 2020 Ordinary Council meeting. Council has a dedicated CBD Parks and Gardens crew who inspect and maintain areas daily. Unfortunately, the vandalism faced by Council in the CBD is very high and requires constant attention. Council has recently purchased a scrubber, which is delivering a higher level of maintenance in the CBD. Council officers are also seeking to have persons with community-based orders remove graffiti and pick up rubbish where appropriate. Council is continuing to replace rubbish bins and has commenced a program to replace the tactiles. These were items identified in the CBD master plan and are being actioned as a priority. Council continues to work with the police to assist them where possible in relation to crime in our city. In addition to this, Council is currently working on strengthening local laws, particularly to protect the health and safety of persons using or accessing local government-controlled areas, and regulate consumption and carrying of intoxicating liquor in local government-controlled areas. And then, should you require any further assistance, there's no doubt that we recognise that there is a problem. The problem in our CBD and is impacting us from other communities and a lot from the Northern Territory. So we are speaking to the police and also state and federal to try and see if we can help come to a resolution, because we are feeling the impacts. And for someone who grew up here, I also have noted that I too haven't seen Mount Isa so inundated at the moment with public drunkenness. And all I can do at the moment for the community is recommend that please ring the police every opportunity you get, so our stats do become alarming, because it's those stats that'll ensure that we get extra resources for the police. So as much as I know some people just move on or go past it, ring the police every opportunity you get, and that's all. That's one thing we can all do as a community is keep relentlessly ringing the police when we see public drunkenness or anything that's crime, vandalism, those sort of things, and keep reporting, even if it's someone's just throwing a rock at your fence. Just keep reporting. So, thank you, Gary. I really appreciate you coming in this morning. Okay, so that moves us out of public participation. And now we'll go to item 5, which is the confirmation of the previous minutes meeting. Would anyone like to, for item 5.1, would like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor. Thanks that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 16th of February 2022 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Deputy Mayor, any comments on this one?
No, thanks,
No.
Madam Mayor.
All right. All those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us to item 5.2. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation for the Miners Memorial Advisory Committee minutes?
Madam Mayor, can I just ask for some discussion on process prior to going to a motion?
Certainly.
The minutes here, they contain quite a few recommendations, which in my view, the recommendations don't have much backing information from council or from council officers, and they're asking us to spend dollars of ratepayers' dollars and that, and those sorts of things are being recommended. And my understanding is if we accept those recommendations, that we need to honour them in that respect. So I think at this point that whilst we could accept the minutes as they are and as they come to council, I think the recommendations within that probably need to go through another process where they come through council and have a council officer's report to support those recommendations, and provide options to councillors with information. And I get and understand this is probably the first set of advisory minutes that we've had that have got so many recommendations in there. And there's great work being done by the advisory committee, I can see. But at this point, I think they should be providing the advice to the council officers, and then the council officers can present councillors with a report, that sort of gives us the options around each of those recommendations, and also the background information that we might need to make a decision, because there's quite a few in there I couldn't make a decision on today. And be respectful to the ratepayers of the city.
Through the chair, could I move a motion on that one? I can move that the minutes of the Miners Memorial Advisory Committee held on the 17th of February 2022 be received and the recommendations therein not be adopted. And that would cover our concerns that we have.
So, through you, Madam Mayor, it would be great to have, as I always say, the first motion rejected and someone foreshadow that they're going to put up a secondary motion. So,
But I would like to put that motion up because that covers it.
Through the chair, that was listed as an option though, as one of the motions.
It
it
is.
is an option. That
Yep.
I saw where the councillor's reading it out
Yeah, okay.
from. And the council officers will always put in the option which is the direct alternative option. I guess where I'm coming from is the recommendation there is put forward by the staff. If that goes up and is defeated, then you go back to the motion that you read out. So remember how I've taken council through this, where you foreshadow that should the vote not go for the recommendation, that you foreshadow that you will put up an alternative motion.
I can move that if you like.
So are you?
I'm moving the recommendation recommended.
What's the difference between that one and that one?
Different recommendations.
I can just put up the
They
recommendation.
look exactly the same in the list, don't they?
I can definitely just put that one up.
Yep.
It covers our
Oh,
concerns.
okay, and look, I think just for transparency, could we not put the resolution and then instead of having just a code, we actually put what they put in?
They're in the
Oh,
attachment.
It's in there.
They're in the attachment.
okay, so should we read them out? Or do
No.
you know what you want to do?
So, councillors, I'm just going to take you back. If someone was to move the original motion as it is at the moment, that would be fine. But then if what you're doing, Councillor Coghlan, is foreshadowing that you have an alternative motion,
Okay,
should
rightio,
that vote
gotcha.
fail, then it moves to second.
Rightio.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
I'll
So I'm
move-
sure Councillor McRae can move that one.
I'll move that the minutes of the Miners Memorial Advisory Committee held on the 17th of February 2022 be received and that the following committee resolutions therein be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Can I get a second for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Can we have some discussion on this one?
Through Chair, yeah, I'll just reiterate what I was mentioning before. I also wanted to add too that there should be a dissection of some of the recommendations because there's some internal business by the committee where they accept the minutes of the previous meeting and things like that. And I don't think they need to come to council because the minutes themselves will come to council. So I don't think that needs to come to council as a recommendation. So I think that internal business can be conducted by the committee quite well. It's just the recommendations where they're advising council to go ahead with certain things that we need to have to come through the process of the officers' research and information. Thanks.
I won't be voting for this. Sorry.
Through Madam Mayor, Council, will you be foreshadowing an alternative motion?
Yes,
should
I
this
will.
motion not get
Yes,
through?
I will. Yep.
Thank you.
I foreshadow that this motion will not be passed.
No,
No.
through
What am I
Madam Mayor,
doing?
you're foreshadowing that you will have an alternative
Yes.
motion should this one not be approved.
That's right.
Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, for the lack of votes, we'll here declare
No, we
this
haven't
one
called for votes.
motion.
No, so now it goes back to Councillor Coghlan. Through Madam Mayor, she foreshadowed an alternative motion. So, Councillor Coghlan, what is your alternative?
My alternative motion would be that the minutes of the Miners Memorial Advisory Committee held on the 17th of February 2022 be received and the recommendations therein not be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Is there anyone who seconds this motion?
Second, Barwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Oh, I just think, going on from what Councillor Barwick said, there are things in the minutes that need to be discussed and they're not in line with other committees that we have within council. So for transparency and for continuity, all committees should be run the same.
I guess my thoughts are, is there any of the motions that we are happy with? Because if there is, we should just put them through now rather than wait for another meeting. Well, there's no options. Yeah, there's no options for that.
Through the chair, the motion as it stands and the recommendation to adopt the recommendation now, does that foreshadow singular resolutions not being adopted in the future, or do we have the opportunity to dissect them, the Deputy Mayor suggested?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it may be that Councillor Coghlan might want to change the motion that's recommended there to simply say that the minutes be returned to the next council meeting.
Yes,
Subject-
I can add that to them if Councillor Barwick's okay with that.
Subject to the review that Councillor Barwick indicated
Yep.
that he wanted to require, that he wanted to take place.
Yep.
So that way they'll simply get presented at the
Taken,
next
yep.
council meeting.
Okay,
And I think that's a great idea because we're saying no to everything when we should be splitting them up and then putting ones forward that we're quite comfortable with. Okay, so is everyone comfortable with that amendment? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us now to the 5.3, which is the minutes of the 100-year Celebration Advisory Committee. Would someone like to move that motion?
Yep, I can. I'd like to move that the minutes of the Mount Isa 100-year Celebration Advisory Committee held on the 15th of February, the 23rd of November, the 12th of October and the 31st of August be received and the recommendations therein be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Yeah, Barwick, second.
Thank you. Councillor McRae, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yeah, I can. 100 Years Committee's coming along nicely. There's a lot of exciting things happening. Ross Proud's joined our team and he's meeting with different stakeholders and the different subcommittees. So yeah, it should be an exciting 12 months next year.
Yeah. Thank you. And Councillor McRae, can you see if I can get invited to some of those subcommittee, their next meetings, if that's okay?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I haven't actually been to any of them myself because I think, yeah, I will.
Yeah, well, maybe myself, yourself and Ross could go along to the next ones and see see if they need any extra help or support. Okay, if there's no other questions or comments? Yep.
Just through the chair, I note reading the all these minutes that the recommendations therein that we're considering adopting here are only refer to accepting of the previous minutes of the business of those committees. So there's no other recommendations in there that would warrant officers, going through that similar to the first one. So I just want to make that point. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Through the chair, I've just got a question for the chair. Is part of the
Yes, there is.
There
I
is?
thought that was coming later.
Is that coming up later?
Yeah, I thought it was a separate item.
Okay, sorry, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, can I just add that that's just all within the terms of reference. We're not spending any money or making any major decisions as listed in the report.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Okay, let's go to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us to item 7 now. Is there any declarations of conflicts of interest in a job?
Yeah, number
Oh, did I miss one? Sorry.
Six, yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. That takes us to item 6, which is outstanding actions from previous council meetings as per March the 16th, 2022. Would someone like to move that officer's recommendation?
Move Barwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
I'm just trying to get my screen to work here. So they're outstanding action meetings, actions from the previous meeting, so I'm quite happy to move those, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. There's no other comments. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, now that takes us to item 7, which asks if there's any declarations of conflicts of interest in line with the agenda. And keep in mind that if you do realise during the meeting there is a conflict of interest, at any time you can speak up. Okay, terrific.
Sorry, I was just waiting for a turn. So, probably ask for some advice with the conflict of interest in a new member of the 100-Year Committee. The new member is a director of a board that I sit on. It's a council nominated board that I sit on. So we just want to get clarification around a potential declarable interest there. And also in 11.9.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, before we jump to the next one, do you want to deal with that one first?
Yes, please.
So, are you putting forward a declarable interest?
A declarable interest, and I'd like to stay
You'd like to
in
stay,
the
right.
meeting. And
So, I guess what we're looking for is someone to move that under, which item was it again, Councillor? 11.9?
Would
sorry,
someone like to move that
one is
motion?
11.9, and the other one is for the new addition to the
100
100-Year
years.
Committee.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
That's two of them, yes. So the first one is in, I thought it was in the 5.3, but that was before the declarations.
Through the chair, I can't find it. I read it last night
The
because
100
Penny sent it to me, but I can't find it.
It's not, I didn't think it was there either. So don't, through you, Madam Mayor, don't worry about the 100 years, because that meeting was only held yesterday.
Okay.
If we can deal with 11.9, Councillor Fortune is asking if he may remain in the room with a declarable conflict of interest. Someone needs to move, second, and vote on that.
Move, Barwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's
Yep,
carried.
and the purposes of that declaration is the Mount Isa Water Board member on the advisory committee.
Thank you, which takes us to the Merrill Minute, which is nil.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, are there any conflicts in the confidential section?
The only one
I would like to, declarable interest on 14.3, that I actually live on the street.
Through you,
But
Madam Mayor.
that's been taken out.
That's been taken
But
out.
it hasn't yet been taken out, but it will be shortly.
I live in the street, on the street. Thank you.
Yeah, and just I clarified on the other one and it actually is not, it is actually a committee, it's a non-for-profit that is actually putting this under
So
Father Mick's banner.
Sorry, through Madam Mayor, I'm not referring to anything except the titles of the report because they're in confidential. So it's just whether you've got a declarable interest or not. And
Okay.
If you haven't, that's fine.
I've checked, I haven't.
Sorry, through the chair, CEO, 14.4, the Audit and Risk Management Committee.
Yep.
I'd already declared the conflict of interest in the meeting, so should I do it again?
Unfortunately, the answer is you should
Okay.
consistently
Sorry, so
declare it.
14.4. The conflict of interest is the auditors for Mount Isa City Council for the audit and risk management are my accountants.
Through you, Madam Mayor, is it a declarable? Are you seeking to stay in the room?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So if we
Would-
could just have,
Would someone like to move the motion that Councillor Tully can stay?
I'll move the motion that Councillor Tully be allowed to stay in the room for that item.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Stratton, we'll go with Stratton. Councillor Stratton. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that takes us to item 9.1, which is the correspondence report. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Madam Mayor, I'll move that council receives and accepts the February 2022 correspondence report.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Sorry, yeah, you've skipped, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, the procedural motion.
What number's that?
It's on your running sheet.
Okay, yep. Yes. Can I get someone to move the motion that council withdraws item 14.3, request for council to act as a guarantor for a Gilla Community Complex at the request of the applicant? Would someone like to put that motion forward?
McRae.
Thank you, councillor McRae. Would someone like to second that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, all right. Sorry about that. Jump one there. Okay, so that takes us back to the correspondence report. Would someone like to read that motion? Or put forward that motion?
I think I moved it already.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a second. Thank
Second.
you, councillor Tully. Deputy Mayor, any comments?
No, thanks, Madam Mayor. I note their general business, just responding to various requests and also some support letters. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no more comments. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that now takes us to our executive services reports, and I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor for item 10 point. I'm assuming that one's the Deputy Mayor's? No.
Councillor.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Councillor McRae, Media.
I'd like to move that council receives and accepts the January and February 2022 Media and Communications Overview Report.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor McRae, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
No, the report just overviews the different media that's been done in relation and who's done the various interviews. So, nothing too exciting to be seen there.
Thank
Through
you.
the chair, can I'd just like, on radio and TV interviews, it's got myself doing an interview on Family Fund Precinct Works on the 4th of the 2nd, which I did not do. I'd like that removed, please.
I thought you did do an interview.
I'd like that removed. No, I didn't do it.
So you cancelled that? Because you sent me an email to say that you were doing
Yep, and then I did let people know that I did not do that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
And I didn't put this report together, but I actually thought you did as well, so there you go.
No.
Through Madam Mayor, we'll make that adjustment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so the next item is 10.2, and it's the Reconciliation Action Plan. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation that council endorses the 2022 Mount Isa City Council Reconciliation Plan as presented?
Moved, Barwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Would someone like to second it?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Deputy Mayor, would you like to?
Through Madam Mayor, just before the Deputy Mayor, I was going to invite the Chair and the Deputy Chair up to speak
Yeah.
to the
That would be
report.
great.
So I'm going to ask, where is the best place for Derek to stand to be picked up on video and use a microphone? Councillor, Deputy Chair, Derek Cusack, and we have Marion, who is the Chair at the back. Marion's also going to speak in a moment as well. It's over to you, Derek.
All right, so I'm part of the Reconciliation Action Plan, and as a working group, I'll go through a few things that we've talked about in our meetings together. So the first one, working group, why we all joined was that we've never had a Reconciliation Action Plan here in the council. So it's a big learning curve for myself to listen to the people that have been involved in other ones and other councils, and the reason why they're pushing and are stoked that we've got one put in place and working on it. So I'll just go through a few topics, and I'll just read a few things that we've talked about. Another thing why we've started is want a better future for the younger generations. I believe as the council is a perfect pathway program, is a perfect pathway for younger generations, especially a lot of the outdoor works is second nature to us. Want the council to do more for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. This is something that we talk to the community about as well, so they can feel we can, This is something we talk to the community about as well, to see where we can help them, and also for the council getting more involved in the community events such as NAIDOC Week, having like a store down there, doing the marching, and the Mount Isa Council is a big face in the community, so we need to be as present as possible, whether that be listening to the community or working with them. More understanding about the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. We have the oldest living culture in the world, so we need to be educated on that. I believe connecting with the Kalkadoon elders, we will learn a lot about the culture on the land that we live on. And having more than tokenistic training courses for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. There are a million different courses out there, but we need the ones that suit our people. The traineeships, work experience opportunities, getting one of the RAP members to talk to schools on career days to give them insight on what the workforce is like and the opportunities that come with these roles.
Thank you, Derek.
Hello, my name is Marion. I'm Walyawara and Pitta woman. I just want to talk about what we've done so far. So we've established the working group, and we've elected a chair, myself and Derek as deputy chair. We've drafted the first RAP, so we built our first RAP on the Reflect template, which is the first level of 4 plans that we work through with Reconciliation Australia. We've given everyone on the RAP work group some actions to do, so it's not just left just on the chair and the deputy and all that, so every single person's involved. We've identified the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander stakeholders and organisations with our local area or sphere of influence, so seeing who we can work with and to build the relationships, to just see how everything goes and see if we can solve a few of the problems around here. And what we're doing next is we're registering a RAP group with Reconciliation Australia and having it endorsed. We're also communications with the RAP group, with the rest of the council, which is what we're doing now. Meeting with identified Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander stakeholders and organisations, which we haven't done, but that's our next step, is going out and talking to Kalkadoon and trying to build our relationships. Develop an understanding of the local traditional owners or custodians of the lands and waters within our organisational operation areas. So go to Kalkadoon, talk to Kalkadoon, and then branch out to other Aboriginal groups to try and, work together. We're also talking about going out on country and do sharing of stories and yarning and that as well. And we also want to design a polo shirt for our RAP members and our council staff. So that's where we are at the moment.
And Marion, before you go, can you tell me what this Reconciliation Action Plan means to you that Council's putting, that it is doing?
Oh, well, for me, being on the council for 16 years, and we've never had anything like this before, and, it's something I'm proud of, and, and seeing what happens in this town, and, I've lived here all my life too. So if I can be here and sort of help every other, you know, Aboriginal person and just show them, you know, we can be something as well. And then, you know, just try and work with other organisations. And, you know, I just don't want to have that conflict between us and everybody else. And, well, I'm hoping this is our stepping stone to, you know, build those relationships.
Thank you, and I'd like to congratulate everyone who's on the committee. Really proud of the work you're doing, and thank you very much. Thanks, Marion. Is there any?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, and I concur with your words. Look, I think this is a great step forward for council to be taking on this reconciliation action plan. There's a range of levels that we got to go through, and probably it may take a few years. However, I think there's a lot of bones already council has in place that we can work with, including our levels of Indigenous employment, and also, you know, some of the courtesies and cultural respect that we already provide during meetings and throughout council. So I'd too like to congratulate Marion and Derek. You know, you're in for a long haul, and I think there's a lot of good things that will come out of the work that you will do. And I really look forward to, you know, enjoying the changes in culture throughout the council, and hopefully ripple through to the community. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well said. Any other comments before we vote?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I may. These are two exceptional staff members. I know that Marion was a bit nervous about the meeting today. Marion is a proud member of our LGMA Rural Management Challenge team that won the award last year. Derek, as many of you will know, is part of the De Castella Midnight Marathon and other associated activities with that. And we're very hopeful that Derek will be competing in a marathon in, am I allowed to say where? Boston or London? Yeah. So we will do everything we can to support Derek and to support Marion, because it's really important to the whole organisation.
Thank you, David. All right, well, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that takes us to item 10.3, which is a request for variation of Healy Heights covenant. And would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'd like to move the recommendation that council approve the Healy Heights covenant variation for a 3-degree pitch roof for the proposed dwelling at 4 Copeland Street, Mount Isa, land described as 98 on Plan SP 206675, and reiterate that the proposed dwelling is to comply with other requirements of the covenant and City of Mount Isa planning scheme at all times.
Thank you, Deputy. Sorry, I was going to call you Deputy.
I'll second
Councillor
that.
Fortune. Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Councillor Fortune, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
Just a description, I suppose, of these variations come before council from time to time, and looking at the proposal, it's not going to take away from the amenity that's in Healy Heights, and for all intents and purposes, it'll add to the current standard of the estate. So I think it's not much of a problem for council to deal with that, and it'll look good when it goes in.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. And this takes us to item 10.4, and it's a request for an extension on the time for fee waiver for the Clay Target Shooting Club. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'll move the recommendation that council approves Mount Isa Clay Target Club Incorporated's request for a 6-month extension to the fee waiver for the required development application for an outdoor sports use from the date of the council resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Someone like to second that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Would anyone like to speak on behalf of this motion? Councillor
Yes, through the
Fortune?
Chair, I would. Thank you very much. The extension was requested due to the amount of work that still needs to be done on getting the development application to council. The Mount Isa Clay Shooting Club are a not-for-profit organisation and volunteer-based, and they've already outlaid significant costs on the proposed development, and the request for the extension is to allow them to complete all those development application items.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Any other comments? All those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 10.5. Now, this is in your supplementary agenda, so if you need a minute just to find it. And this is the endorsement for the contribution to the Premier's flood appeal. If everyone's got that, would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council endorse a $5,000 contribution to the Premier's flood appeal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Would someone like to second that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yeah, so, Madam Mayor, the recent attendance by yourself, the CEO, and myself to the Western Queensland Alliance Councils, it was proposed by the chair of that conference that that all 22 councils would contribute $5,000 each to the Premier's flood appeal and make a parcel of $110,000, if I've added up correctly, to contribute to the people in the southeast LGAs, and I believe there's 22 councils down there that are suffering quite significant damage and personal losses throughout that area. So I think it's a good token. It's probably going to achieve some things, and I would highly recommend that we support those councils in their time of need.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And they're calling it, they're saying, let it be known as 22 for 22. So there's 22 Western councils, and we want to support 22 councils that have been hit by disaster. One of the sentiment in the conference was that during times of flood and disaster, it's often the metropolitan areas that give so generously to the bush areas, and this was seen as an opportunity for these councils and especially these 22 councils to give back in their time of need. So if there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us to item 11, which is the Corporate and Community Services Reports, and item 11.1 is Finance Overview Report for February 2022, and I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll move that Council receives and accepts the February 2022 Finance Overview Report as presented.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. The council officers have provided through the Director of Corporate and Finance a comprehensive financial report for the month. So that includes a summary, and also the finance papers are also attached at the end. In terms of our position going forward, it's quite good. It's quite solid. We have a remaining budget of $3,476,000 in variance across the revenue and expenses. So at present time, whilst we're showing a deficit of 2.6 million against a budget of 606,000, we're quite well down there, but there's still a way to go through the year, and I think our forecast is showing that we will get that back quite well. So there's a couple of items there that are noteworthy, and they are that the sales are down on the batch plant, which is affecting our revenue there, And also our revenue is quite down because we haven't received the water dividend at this point in time, which I believe is due this month. But to compensate for that, I notice the expenses are well down on compared to budget, so we're managing our resources quite well there, it would seem. Overall, so we're in quite a close position to where we should be, given those couple of things. So there's also a highlighted there the plant, property and equipment where we're up to for the year, the financial sustainability ratios, which are things that we've got to keep our eye on, and we're doing that quite well. We're working towards a better result towards the end of the year, the end of the financial year. So they're listed there as well. We've got outstanding age rates balances there as well, and that's sitting at the end of February 22 is we're 8,900,000 in arrears, and there's work being done on 3.5 million of that, which is largely where we've issued final notices to people and intentions to sell land for recovery of outstanding rates. So, and in a recent meeting we put up 84 blocks to go through that process. So we're hoping that some of that money will come in rather than us taking it to the eventual sale of the land. However, we do need to, under the legislation, to follow that process. Council has issued water consumption notices to all properties on the 7th of the 2nd, and they're due in last week, actually, the 10th of the 3rd. So that includes the half-yearly residential water consumption notices and also the second quarter non-residential water consumption notices. The second half-yearly rate notices for residences will be issued 21st of the 3rd this month, with a due date for payment around the 20th of April, for those people eagerly awaiting those. The revenue have commenced issuing, I've mentioned that, the intention to sell land. So there's a range of things there provided for analysis by function, which gives us a good idea of where each section of council is sitting, and it gives us also the finance teams and the management team a chance to work out where the differences are occurring across the council. Summary of loans there. So at 28th of February, council owes a total of 19.8 million, where we haven't added to that debt at all. We've continued to pay it down, so we'll poke along that way. Cash at the bank. So we're sitting with 54 million, quite solvent, and our unrestricted cash is 8.8 million. And I think that should be it, Madam Mayor. I'll just mention too, we're starting to work on the annual budget for 22-23, and I believe we've got a meeting tomorrow, so to start that process. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Are there any comments?
Can I just congratulate the finance team on how well the reports are being presented? Yeah, they're a great improvement on what we started with, and really easy to read.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 11.2, which is the Environmental and Biosecurity Overview Report, January and February for 2022, and I'll hand you over to Councillor Stretton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, recommendation there is Council receives and accepts the January-February 2022 Environmental and Biosecurity Overview Report.
Thank you, Councillor Stretton. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Coghlan.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Councillor Stretton.
Yeah, just a bit of an overview there. The Environmental Services and Biosecurity processed a total of 67 service requests and complaints during January 2022 and February 2022. Environment health officers commenced routine inspections of food businesses. 3 local businesses conducting environmentally relevant activities were inspected for compliance and licence conditions. Each business has been issued a post-inspection compliance
report outlining areas of improvement or correction where relevant.
Thank you. Any comments on this one?
Oh, just to give a bit of a plug to the Free Plants Day that council are running again. It proved extremely popular last year, so for people to register so that they can get their plants, and then also our environmental grant program and the community tree planting project, two really good things that council are working on. Should be commended for doing these. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. And I'd just like to remind people those plants are actually paid through for your environmental levy on your rates bill. So if everyone has that environmental levy and they often say, what's this about? So this is one of the initiatives that's come out of that environmental levy. So really great one. If there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 11.3, which is your local laws overview report for January and February 2022. And I'll hand you back to Councillor Stratton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation there, Council receives and accepts January and February 2022 local laws overview report.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Can I get a second for that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Councillor Stratton, would you like to...
Yes, Madam Mayor, a bit of an overview. Mount Isa City Council is conducting proactive overgrown inspections due to the increase of rainfall. Officers are currently organising a program of volunteers to assist exercising dogs and playing with cats and kittens at the council pound. Council Pet Day will be held on Saturday, 9th of July 2022 at Buchanan Park Complex. Officers are seeking to engage local and out-of-town displays and stall holders. Council and the Queensland Police Service continue to conduct reactive and proactive patrols of the Leichhardt riverbed to address issues around illegal camping, alcohol consumption and littering. Signage with the messaging "no camping, no drinking and no littering" has been printed and will be erected in March.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on this one?
I'd just like to, through the chair, just a congratulations to the local laws team that are doing the proactive inspections of overgrown lots and that. Because we had such good rain, there are a lot of houses around with overgrown allotments. There's a bit of a little mice plague happening in Mount Isa at the moment, so that doesn't help when you have overgrown allotments sitting next to you. And also it's going to be a big fire hazard as it dries out. So just reiterate to residents to mow your yards, clean up your yards, and if you do see something that's not getting done, that you can ring council and report it so that they can get a letter to just say, you know, move along and mow your yard.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan, and that's some great advice. Is there any other comments? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. This moves us on to 11.4, which is Waste Management Overview Report for January and February for 2022. Would someone like to... back to Councillor Stratton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, the officer's recommendation. Council receives and accepts the January-February 2022 Waste Management Overview Report.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded. Fortune.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Councillor Stratton, an overview?
Yes, a primary focus throughout January 2022 and February 2022 was the ongoing development of the 5-year site-based management and operating plan and subsequent optionising exercise to future-proof for the... Sorry, I got these new glasses, I've got to keep going back and forth. Future-proof the infrastructure layout, efficiency, safety and operability of the Jessup Drive Waste Management Facility. The site-based management operating plan includes landfill staggering, transfer station operation and servicing of operation charges relating to the MRF project. Optioneering incorporates safe, efficient operation of the new and established transfer stations and improvements to the user experience and recovery of resources. Market testing for curbside collection services commenced in February 22 and will remain open through the first week of April 22. After extended negotiation process, the MRF design and construction contract was executed, signaling the initiation of the project and a range of preparations for the development to get underway.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. Next one goes to splashes, and that's item 11.5, which is an overview report for February 2022. Now,
Yep.
Over to Councillor Coghlan.
I'd just like to move the recommendation that council receives and accepts the February 2022 splashes overview report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to talk on this motion?
Oh, look, just everything's in the report there, but it's going gung-ho as usual. I think Splashes is our little oasis in the desert. The staff down there do a tremendous job. We've got the funding from North Queensland, I think it's called North Queensland. They have swim fit sessions as well as the aqua aerobics that are free. So for members of the public to get hold of that.
Move it.
Move it, that's right. That's what a lot of us should do, move it. So, yeah. No, it's really good, and it's good to see all the schools again coming in with their swim programs, and also the Isa Heat Swim Club forging ahead at the moment, and school carnivals, swimming carnivals are coming up. So, and the inflatable is still getting put up on weekends.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Any other comments on this one?
Yeah, no, I'd just like to reiterate Councillor Coughlan's. I mean, I went down to the pool a week ago, 10 days ago, and yeah, it looks really good. They must be, yeah, I think, you know, it's a lot to do with the people that are working down there, and yeah, they do a great job, and it looks really well, really good.
Well said, Councillor Tully.
Can I just ask you a question through you, the Chair?
Sure.
There's a rip in one of the shade sails in the leisure pool. Is that...
Was fixed.
Yeah, how was that? How did that happen? Yeah. Was that storm damage or something?
Wind.
It was?
Wind, wasn't it?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm unaware of which one of nature's gifts were put on the sailcloth to rip it. I think it was just old, got replaced fairly quickly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So
Wherever possible, what we're trying to do with the shade sails is reuse them again. So if there's a smaller area, we will try and use that to cover up, so they get recycled to a very large degree.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that now takes us to 11.6, which is a request for write-off of a bad debt for sundry debtor invoice 2912848. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yeah, I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council approve to write off sundry debtor invoice 2912848 for $1,690 under section 7.3, debt write-off of council's sundry debt recovery policy.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on
Yeah,
that?
so this sundry debtor was a horse paddock trustee permit for a period from in 2021-2022. It was due for payment by the 23rd of October last year, and it hasn't been paid clearly. So we've carried out recovery action to the best of our ability at council and as far as we can go. So there's been no attempt, or there's been no payment made against this parcel of land, and it's now come to council because all the avenues for the finance department have pretty much been exhausted, and there's not much point pursuing it any further. So hence the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. So the horse paddock is now vacant and no sign of the owner. All right. Any other comments on this one?
Yeah, thank you, Madam. Yeah, just through the chair, I think it's good that the team's worked quick with this, because there is a lot of people that are waiting for horse paddocks, and you know, I think, you know, if people aren't prepared to pay their fees and what they should be evicted, within a certain time. So yeah, well done to them.
Thank you. All right. If there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, that takes us now to item 11.7, which is the Environmental Grant Program Policy, and I'll hand you over to Councillor Stratton.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Through the chair, council accepts the environmental grants program policy as presented.
Thank you, councillor Stratton. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Coghlan.
Thank you, councillor Coghlan.
Yeah, I'll
Councillor
just
Stratton?
give a bit of background on this. Environmental Services is delivering the environmental grants program, the fund and support of the development and delivery of community projects that enhance the natural environment and drive sustainability within the Mount Isa region. An environmental grants program policy has been developed to provide the framework for the program. The policy details how council will manage and allocate funds from the separate environmental charge to access the eligibility of projects proposed by the community in accordance with the grant requirements and criteria to be taken into consideration when evaluating proposals and monitoring the successful projects. So if people wondering where their money goes when that environmental charge, that's some of it there.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. That now leads us to 11.8, which is roads and stormwater drainage asset management plan for adoption, and that is councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 11.8, recommend that council adopts the asset management plan for roads and stormwater drainage as presented, and that council integrates the adopted asset management plan for roads and stormwater drainage into the long-term financial plan and annual budget reviews.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Any comments, councillor Tully?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just a bit of background. The council's year 2021 end of year financial statements were finalised and the core asset base confirmed to enable the financial modelling of the asset management plan. These models have been loaded into the Institute of Public Works Engineers Australia's NAMS plus templates and combined with the draft 2017 asset management plan content. Yeah, I just think it's important that we keep on top of our asset management plan, especially with the roads, because I mean this is some of the highest valued assets that council have. So I think we need to know where the roads are and where they are, so they can depreciate it and in line with our budgeting.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Any other comments?
Yeah, through the chair. Look, going forward in the future, it's part of council's job to have the plans in place and the strategies in place and budgets in place for the long-term management of all of the assets, including roads and stormwater drainage, etc. And it's an important step to have that facility there to be able to carry out that forward planning, and it's a great step for council going forward.
Thank you, councillor Fortune.
Chair, look, I concur with the comments by both councillors. This is a great step forward, it really is. We haven't been in this position. It is only the first of several asset classes, and we do have a lot more work to do around water and sewerage and other things. But it's certainly great to see this plan, and I'd like to just sort of commend the CEO and the technical services team for getting it to this stage. It really is pleasing to see.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. It's not really technical services, it's Geraldine, who's coordinator. And she's done a splendid job on this, and she has a passion around assets. So well done to Chalea, but also well done to Geraldine. That's where a lot of this has come from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's great to see. Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. That now takes us to the, making sure I'm not missing one, 11.9, which is the Lake Mundara Advisory Committee additional appointment of member. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I can do that. I'd like to move that council approve the appointment of a representative of the Mount Isa Water Board to the Lake Mundara Advisory Committee.
Thank you, councillor McRae. Would someone like to second that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Councillor McRae, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
I can. I think people applied and got accepted onto the committee, and then there was a realisation that one of the major stakeholders was missing, which is Mount Isa Water Board. So that's been rectified, and now they've got someone on the committee.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. The next one is 11.10, Young People Ahead. Chance to approve sponsorship. Change to approve sponsorship, actually. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to move this officer's recommendation?
The recommendation that council support the request from Young People Ahead to extend the approved sponsorship activity, that it's called the School Holiday Program, to the 30th of April 2022.
Thank you, thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second, Barwick.
Thank you. And Councillor Coghlan, would you like to give us a bit of...
Yeah, just for members of the public, this program was supposed to run over the Christmas and New Year holidays, but just due to the high COVID numbers, like many other organisations in Mount Isa, they couldn't do it. So they've just requested it be for the next school holidays.
Thank you. There's no other comments. All those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to 11.11, the CBD Master Plan for Community Consultation. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council notes and accepts the summary of community consultation presented regarding the CBD Master Plan.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Right.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. There was a quite a esteemed group that attended the consultation and other feedback that was received from council. So it was similar to the previous consultation sessions. There's a need to focus on business and public safety and security, increased lighting. People are very interested in additional covered and shaded car parking, and no reduction in car parking. They're also more interested in controlled traffic flow, which is, coupled with reduced speed limits in the CBD precinct, an increase to inner city accommodation options, and introduction of public transport, and there's some concerns over some laneway accesses, so they just wanted to make sure that was raised in terms of delivering goods into businesses. So, yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments on this one? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 12. I'm making sure I'm not missing anything. Did I miss 11.12? Yep. So I'll just take you back to the supplementary agenda. Okay. I guess this is yours, Deputy Mayor? Yeah, I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So I'll move that council adopts the 2022-23 revenue policy as presented.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so every year before we go through the rates budgeting process for council, rates and budgeting, we need to adopt a revenue policy about our management and treatment of revenue that council gains from providing services to the community. We need to document that and review it and upgrade the policy every year, and this policy, as I understand it, has very little changes to it from last year, so it's fairly well put together. So I'll offer that to the table. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. Takes us to item 12.1, Works and Operations Overview Report, and I'll hand you over to Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Recommendation that council receive and accepts the February 2022 Works and Operations Overview Report.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things that I'd like to highlight through the recommendation was during January and February, the council area received substantial rainfall, which all crews were kept busy, and I'd just like to thank them for the work that they do, especially on the crossings, because I mean they need to be. There's a lot of after hours work that happens when the crossings get covered in debris. So I'd just like to thank them. The annual road reseal program was successfully completed with 60,000 square metres receiving a single 10 mil coat of PMB seal. It's similar to a rubber seal, so that's that helps in waterproofing the roads. Parks and Gardens, Council have assisted the Mount Isa Hockey Association and the Mount Isa Rugby League by slashing and whippersnippering their sporting ovals, and planting and irrigating and mulching of the pump track has commenced. And I think it's completed now, actually, I think.
Through you, Madam Mayor, happy to be corrected by the Director, but I also believe the toilets have now been installed there as well.
Okay. Oh, well done. Just out of Camberwell, not at Camberwell, at the around the CBD, a lot of the footpaths and the tiling, I see on social media has been, it's been put up. So I think that's well and truly overdue. There was a few tenants that have been made me aware of some of the tiling that has been ripped up and then used as projectiles. So I'm glad that that's well and truly underway. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Any other comments on this one?
I just would like to, through the chair, make a comment, because I've had quite a few people comment on the footpaths and that at the moment through the CBD, that how good they are, and I think that's just because the scrubber is going around on a more frequently, basically. So that comes from business owners and members of the public.
Through you, Madam Mayor, happy to be corrected by the Director, but I believe we're using a super hard detergent on the footpaths at the moment to try and remove the grime. We also had better brushes installed in the scrubber, and it may be that if it can be accommodated in this year's plant budget, that another scrubber is actually purchased as well, if I remember correctly, Director Wallace? Yep. So we will keep doing that, but as was pointed out by Mr. Osman, there is still a lot of rubbish that's there. It's a matter of trying to keep up with that.
Yep.
Thank you. If there's no more comments on this one, all those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, so that now takes us to 12.2, which is Major Projects Overview Report, and I'll hand you back over to Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation that Council receives and accepts the February 2022 Major Projects Overview Report as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
I think it was Councillor Stratton won that one. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As the CEO alluded to, the Gallipoli Park pump track toilet block has been completed. The final grouting at the Splashes pools has been completed, and the contract for the design and construction, am I correct? Design and construct for the Family Fun Park has been started.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, I'll hand over to the Director.
Oh, thank you.
So the design for the Family Fun Park. So it has gone out to community consultation in relation to equipment that we're putting in, that we'd like to put in. That has been well received. I believe we have over 300 responses from the community. So that's the first stage. Because there is a long lead time on the procurement of that equipment, we're trying to get that through quickly. However, the rest of the design is happening concurrently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair, can I just ask about the Gallipoli Park pump track? Are we, as a council, going to do anything to secure this asset now with security fencing, because I know there's a lot of vandalism going on down there already, and, yes.
At this stage, there was no intention to put a fence up around it. There has been vandalism to the toilet blocks. We're putting better locks and gates on there, so that's just in progress at the moment. In relation to graffiti and things like that, we are just part of the daily inspections going in and treating that. I'm happy to have feedback from council and community whether or not that is a proposal, but the idea was to have an open space at Gallipoli Park.
Do we have CCTV cameras out on Gallipoli? We do. So what's the rate of capturing the people who are doing the damage at the moment?
I'd have to come back to council with that information. I don't have that on hand.
Okay. So, I'd be interested to note if that is actually, obviously it's not a deterrent, but at least if we're actually capturing the culprits, and I think we should be prosecuting them.
In the past, the information that has come from Family Fun Park, I believe, the CEO can correct me, but that information and all CCTV is highlighted to the police, and we provide that additional information.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, we might just chase up and see if we can find out if they're actually putting any charges forward. All right, any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 12.3, which is the contract award for the Mount Isa City Rehabilitation and Reseal. So I'll hand you back over to Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The recommendation is the council award the contract 2022-07 to Fulton Hogan Industries Proprietary Limited for the sum of $1,124,407.53, excluding GST, for the rehabilitation and reseal of approximately 28,000 square metres of council roads.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Thank you. The RFQ for the rehabilitation and reseal was advertised on local buy on the 7th of February 2022 and closed on the 28th of February 2022. The evaluation panel reviewed and scored each submission based on the relevant evaluation that we complete here in council. And Fulton Hogan were the choice, and such they will receive the contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this one?
Through you, Madam Mayor, would
Yep.
it be useful if the councillor read out which
Yeah.
roads are being done?
Through the chair, thanks, CEO. It's the Rodeo Drive roundabout, including Miles and Simpson Street, West Street from Marion Street to Rodeo Drive, Flower Street, Carnation Street, Begonia Street, Astor Street, 21st Avenue, Milwaukee and Rabaul, Urquhart Street to Sulphide Street, Bougainville Street. And I probably just need to say the three quotes that were received were from Fulton Hogan Industries Proprietary Limited, Durac Civil Proprietary Limited, and Stabilised Pavements of Australia. And obviously Fulton Hogan were the cheapest. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully.
Just a question, Madam Mayor. Is line marking included in this price, or is that an extra?
No, we do the line marking.
Oh, council does that.
Council does the line marking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Any other comments?
Sorry, I just like to ask a question, please, if I could, CEO. I know the majority of this is from Roads to Recovery. Is that right? I just wanted to know how much council we're putting in.
Yes, that's correct. It's from the Roads to Recovery funding. All of it, yes, all of it. Yeah.
What about variations? Would that be through that as well, or not?
There, I believe. So council had at the beginning of the financial year there was a budget of 400,000 for refurbishments. Rehab. I believe we combined that funding with the R2R, so it's R2R plus the original budget that was in.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Okay, if there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, and that moves us to item 13, which is notices of motion, which is nil. So we are now going to adjourn, and then we will be reopening in confidential. So the time is now 10:25, and we will now adjourn for a brief Would someone like to move the motion that council considers the following confidential reports in a meeting close to the public in accordance with section 254J of the local government regulation for 2012? 14.1, the 2021 final management report to Mount Isa City Council. 14.2, request for council to act as a guarantor for the Pioneer Community Centre project. 14.4, Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting minutes dated the 24th of February 2022, unconfirmed. And 14.5, submission for electricity supply options for the Northwest Mineral Province consultation regulatory impact statement, CRIS. Would someone like to move that motion, please?
I'll move, Madam.
And would someone like to second that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, Councillor Stratton. All those in favour? And that's carried. Someone like to move the motion that council moves out of closed business into open council business?
Moved.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Can I get a seconder?
Seconded, Fortune.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, this moves us to item 14.1, which is the 2021 Financial Management Report to Mount Isa City Council. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
Yeah, I'll move, Madam Mayor. If I can find it. Here it is. I'll move that council receives and accepts the 2021 Final Management Report for Mount Isa City Council as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour? And that is councillor Coghlan, you're in favour?
Yes, sorry.
Yep, carried.
Oh, mate, on your toes.
Terrific. That takes us to item 14.2, request for council to act as a guarantor for the Pioneer Community Centre. Would anyone like to move that motion?
Yeah, I will. Sorry, it was 14.2. Okay. Recommendation that council does not approve and authorise the CEO to commence the process of Mount Isa City Council being the guarantor for the Pioneer Community Centre project.
Thank you, councillor Tulloch. Would someone like to second that motion?
Coghlan, second.
Thank you, councillor Coghlan. All those in favour? That's carried. That takes us to item 14.4 on the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting minutes dated the 24th of February 2022, unconfirmed. Would someone like to move their officer's recommendation?
Yeah, I'll move, Madam Mayor. As soon as I can get hold of it. There it is. That council receives and accepts the unconfirmed Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting minutes dated the 24th February 2022 as presented.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Stratton.
Thank you, councillor Stratton. All those in favour? And that's carried. And that moves us to the last one, which is item 14.5, a submission to the electricity supply options for the Northwest Mineral Province, consultation, regulatory impact statement, CRIS. Would someone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor. That council provide retrospective endorsement of the council submission to the Queensland Government regarding the electricity supply options for the Northwest Minerals Province, consultation, regulatory impact statement, CRIS.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder for that motion? Thank you, councillor Tully. All those in favour? And that's carried.
Sorry, just through the chair, I'd like to commend the CEO on that report that he did that. I thought that was really good.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the officers, that was Ross, Finney, predominantly.
Oh, so you just signed it? Okay. That works for me too.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for your attendance. The time is now 11.